I'll stand by you. A storm raged through the grand kingdom of Canterlot. Rain fell from the sky, stinging the ground like 1,000 bees. The buildings that glistened in the vast sunlight had faded away with the dreaded darkness of the deep charcoal storm clouds. The capital city, though usually filled with bustling ponies of all shapes and sizes, had turned into a ghost town. The citizens of Canterlot hid away from the booming thunderstorm, safe and sound by the warmth of the fire that lit up their beautiful homes. A lone stallion slowly walked through the cobbled streets, dragging himself through the storm. The young unicorn had gleaming armor of gold and royal purple, worn tight and secure around his body. His helmet sparkled from the raindrops that slowly trickled down it. His ocean-rippled mane and tail, usually sticking up at different angles, was now dampened by the water that was falling from the sky above. His head drooped as he walked towards Canterlot Castle. As captain of the guard, Shining Armor was usually a pony held in high regards. Now all he felt was worthless. Shining Armor approached the castle, hidden behind the mist created by the rain. He gazed upon it as he passed by. The guards that stood high above in the towers of the castle saluted to their captain. He saluted in return, and continued on. Passing into the gardens, he carefully looked around. The beautiful plants that had lifted the spirits of the castle and ponies that lived within its walls now had shriveled away from the storm, just as he did. Shining Armor pushed on, moving closer to his goal. The royal guard's heart pounded rapidly like a war drum when he reached a pair of black gates. He looked above to read the words that were built into the stone archway surrounding the gates. Royal Guard, Memorial of Fallen Heroes. Shining Armor took a few shaky breaths and walked into the resting place of all the royal guards who had surrendered their lives to protecting the princesses of Equestria. A chill ran down the captain's spine. Seeing the fallen guards tore at his heart with each step. As he made his way closer to the grave he had long awaited to visit, he felt a small tear escape his eye. Ugh! Come on, Shining, he thought to himself. Be strong. Is this how you want him to see you? Remember, chin up and smile. Taking another deep breath, Shining Armor went through the labyrinth of rested souls who slept soundly in their sanctuaries. Not used to visiting the graveyard, it took Shining Armor quite a while to find the place he wanted to visit. He then spotted one lone grave sitting upon the highest hill. Shining Armor's ears perked up from around his helmet. He then quickly trotted towards the grave. His hooves sunk into the mud with each step. With a sigh of relief, Shining Armor climbed the hill and looked at the stone marker. The words carefully engraved on the stone read, "Here lies Copper Irontail, an honored soldier of true loyalty and heroism." Shining Armor ran his hoof across the solid gravestone. His silver-blue eyes lowered to the ground in front of the grave. There stood a bright golden helmet. Even in the downpour, it glistened like sunshine. The plume on top of the helmet was streaked with royal blue and a deep chocolate color. Shining Armor sat on his haunches, looking upon the stone marker in front of him. He took off his helmet and placed it carefully on the ground next to him. Before long, memories began to swirl in his mind about his friend. He thought of how they met, the adventures they had when they were colts, and even the day they were both recruited to be royal guards. One memory haunted him, though. It was the day he lost his greatest friend. Sighing and shaking his head, he reminded himself of the reason he was here. For this momentous occasion was one to be remembered. Today had been the day he had lost his best friend, 1 year ago. He still felt the same way as when he saw his friend pass away. With an aching heart, he sat up to speak the words he had waited so long to comprehend. "Hi, Copper," Shining Armor said, keeping his eyes strictly on the gravestone. I know it's been a while since I last visited you here. Being captain means I'm never able to get a break, but I was able to make time, especially today, though, because I needed to be here. For the both of us. Shining Armor took a few shaky breaths before continuing. We've known each other for so long. No matter the joys or hardships we had between us, I had never felt a bond of brotherhood stronger than ours. The day after your funeral, I felt like that bond shattered. You might find this weird, but I could have sworn I felt you next to me, comforting me. I heard you telling me the same phrase like you always did. Chin up and smile. That's one of the many things I've always admired about you. You never failed to put a smile on my face. You just had that way of always being happy. So I try to do the same. You know, Copper, that even though we were the same age, the kind of pony you always were to me and others made you my hero. You never backed down from a fight, not to prove that you're brave and strong, but to show that no matter what, you'll always go with some pony into their darkest hour and never desert them. I can't even express how grateful I am that you gave your life for me and Cadence. I treasure that moment every day. I I only wish it was me and not you. As that horrified moment started to enter his mind, Shining Armor did all he could to hold back the tears. With a quick swipe of his hoof, he wiped away the moisture that was building in his eyes. Every time when I close my eyes and try to go to sleep, that memory of your death, it, it, I just remember it so clearly. You were tasked by Celestia to safely escort Cadence and I to the Crystal Empire. I could not be happier to find out that my best friend was going to go on this incredible mission with us. And now, I just wish you never came. Shining Armor stumbled in his words. With a heavy heart, he continued with his speech. I remember all three of us running, horrified, afraid of the dark shadow that followed behind us. I ran right by Cadence's side. I was so sure you were next to me. Instead, when I turned my head, you went to face the monster. I turned to fight the beast as well, but you kept yelling at me to run and keep her safe. I listened, but I just shouldn't have. I shouldn't. And when Cadence and I finally reached the Empire, I thought you would come back, and you never did. Cadence then used her spell to create a force field around the Empire with only love to protect it. I ran back to make sure you were okay, but all I saw was your helmet. Shining Armor could no longer hold back the tears that fell from his eyes. As the memory flooded his mind, all that came out were sobs of shame and regret. If only he could have been there. If only he had not run away, but stood by Copper's side, then maybe he would still be alive. Not daring to wipe the tears, he gathered his courage to finish what he wanted to say. I want you to know that from the beginning, you were more than a royal guard, or more than a friend. You were my brother. That's why I know, through every war I fight, through every victory I claim, through every loss I surrender, I promise to follow your code of honor, the greatest lesson I can learn. I promise I will always stand by you no matter what. As Shining Armor finished his last words, he slowly got up from his sitting position and placed his helmet back on his head. He bowed his head to his fallen friend and went back into the direction of Canterlot Castle. As Shining Armor neared the bottom of the hill, he looked back at his rested brother. With the quick change in the weather, the storm clouds finally broke apart, and a small ray of sunshine down on the stone marker. Shining Armor gave a warm smile and continued on. His promise is one that he would always keep with him. In this moment, He knows even though they will never be reunited, they will stand by each other, brothers, to the end.